Hello everyone, welcome to BAW Tech Nuggets. In today's session, I will be explaining the REST API provided by the BAW product itself and how to create Swagger definition file for that REST API. We will be creating that Swagger definition file in the YAML format. So these are the topics I'm going to cover in this video. First, we will look at the Swagger specification file that comes out of the box when you install BAW server. And then we will look at the Swagger editor, and then we will install that Swagger editor in a Linux machine, and then we will see how to enable the CORS, cross-origin resource sharing, on the BAW server. Once you enable that, we can test the APIs with the Swagger editor that we installed locally, and then we will try to add some of the APIs like retrieving the user and retrieving the teams using the out-of-the-box APIs. Finally, once we create that Swagger file, with the REST APIs that we want to implement, we will upload to the BAW Web Process Designer, and then we will test it. As you know, this is the out-of-the-box REST API tester, and these are the APIs, REST APIs that are available with the BAW. So here we have process API, service API. You can expand these and then click on the API and then see what are the methods that are available and what are the parameters you can pass to execute that REST API. So to keep it simple, today we'll be focusing on the organization API. As I mentioned, we will be focusing on getting the user details or users and getting the teams. So how it works is when I click on the users, so here you can see the method is get. Here I can pass the filter. For example, if I want to pull all the users whose name starts with I read, I can put the wildcard, and then I can here I can give the option like whether it should, the response should include all the memberships that the user has. So I can click on this one. So you can see the first user is I read user one, and it pulled all the memberships, and similarly it pulled another user I read user two. So here I can remove the these parameters because these are just booleans, right? So if I execute right now, we can see it pulled the users, and it did not pull the membership because we unchecked this membership parameter. So likewise, we have another API, so which is called global teams. What it does is it pulls all the teams. If you don't pass anything, it will pass, it will pull all the teams that exist in the system. But I think by default it pulls around like 50 or 500 because there is some size limit. For example, if you have 1,000 teams in the system, and if you execute this call, it will not pull the 1,000 teams. It will pull part of it. But what you can do is you can mention the size, and you can also mention the team filter name. For example, if I want to pull the teams which have like a manager, because I see the team managers, right? So I want to pull all the teams which has the manage in it. So I put two wildcards, at the start and at the end of this keyword. And when I execute this call, you can see it pulled the teams which has this manage as a keyword. And second thing is, if you hover around it, it says that the search is case insensitive. So now we know that these REST API exists, right? And we want to execute this REST API in the BPM itself. But the thing is, these REST APIs, can be executed on the front end. I mean, on the coach views, right? Using, plain JavaScript, or, you can use Dojo XHR calls, to show the information like whatever you receive through this REST API, right? On the UI. But my goal is different. I want to execute this REST API on the back end. For example, I want to create a service uh, which like get teams, or yeah, get teams, and I don't want any UIs involved in this, in this process. So simply, I will pass a keyword and it should return, all the teams, you know, um, all the teams that has that keyword in it, right? So how do I do that? So to implement that, we will start with creating the external service, right? So here it gives two options. It says that Java, REST, or web service. So obviously we will select this option. And when I next, it's asking for the, file. This file is, Swagger file. It can be either in JSON format or YAML format. So how do I get this file? So from IBM documentation, so we can get that Swagger file by going to this URL. Uh, to it is the first part is the host name and the port number, and then slash ppm doc. So this is the Swagger file, and this Swagger file contains um, the REST API definitions, and we can see those definitions in this URL. So you can see, it has system uh, tag, and it has one REST API defined under it, and it has process tag, and then it has user task tags. But you can quickly figure out, right? These these REST APIs are not matching with all. I mean, these are not all whatever they provided in the REST API tester. For example, in here they have this organizational API, and here you don't see organizational API tag at all. Here you see the process, and here, yeah, you see the process API. So but there are several, right? Because you see the retrieve model, start process, current stats, everything. So here we have only the processes, right? And then we have the processes. If you want to get in a particular process, if you know the process ID, then you can get that. Something like that. Similarly, with the user tasks. So what I'm trying to say is, the REST APIs that are exists, in this REST API tester are not there in this Swagger definition file they provided, right? So now we will step away from the BPM and see how the Swagger definition file looks like for the general APIs. So for that, I'm going to the Swagger editor. So you can type in editor.swagger.io. So here you can see this is the YAML file for for imaginary pet store. So for that pet store, we have these REST APIs available. For example, we can pay, post the pet, and if you expand it, when you're posting, your body should contain the name, and if you have any photos, you can paste the photo URL, something like that. Similarly, we have if you want to get the pets that are already in the system, we have the get method, and the API is slash pet, and after that you need to give the parameter. For example, if we can um, give the photo a pet ID like 1234. I don't know, whether that 1234 exists, whether that whether a pet with that ID exists or not. but you can try, right? So when I'm clicking that, you can see that that here it is bring the XML response, but I know I'm comfortable with the JSON format. So when I'm executing that, here you can see that, right? So I entered 1234 and it did pull some kind of response. Okay, so okay, so let me try with another ID like 12345 and click on execute. So you can see now it says that pet not found. Oh, okay, so 1234 exists but not 12345. Cool. Okay, so as you can see on the left hand side you can see the APIs that were defined, and on the right hand side you can see all these APIs you know um, in the human readable format, right? Of course this is also human readable format, but this is like more the UI is more friendly. So let's look at what are the contents in this Swagger file. So on the first you can see the Swagger version, and the info you can see the description part which is rendered here, and it says that what are the schemes that this pet store uses. So here it uses HTTPS. So here you see that HTTPS and HTTP, so you can see that drop down, right? Because it's here it's mentioned too. So, and the important things we need to look at is the host, right? So this is the host where this API is hosted. So when you are executing this, or when you are um, calling these REST APIs, so this is where your request goes to, and the response will be issued. And then we have the base path, which is the base path for all these REST APIs. So after that, you have paths, like these are all the paths, right? For example, here we have post pet. So here it says that post, the method post, and then it is under the tags pet, right? And what is the whether what are the response types it consumes or issues, right? So here we have XML and JSON. Similarly, they define the schema for the before that. For example, let's take one get method, because that's much simpler. So here it says that the pet, after the path you need to give the pet ID, which is mentioned in these brackets, right? And then when a, the pet ID is defined in this parameter section, so it is a path parameter. We have two kinds of parameters. So if you see that REST URL, you have the query parameter as well as the path parameter. So here we have the path pet ID is the path parameter. Query parameter usually we defined with a question mark. And then after that they define the response, right? So the response schema should look like this one. For example, here uh, that schema is defined in the definition section. So if you go to the definition sections, here that schema will be um, will look like this. So let me try to go there. Okay, so I am under the definition section. So here you can see the pet object is defined like this. So it is the object, and it has photo URLs, right? And it has ID, so which is this one ID, and it has category, so which is this one. So and it has tags, right? So it has tags. So basically in the definition we need to mention like how the response schema should look like. Okay, so now we look at the basics about the Swagger, right? So if you want to learn more about it, you can go to YouTube and then type Swagger editor. So there are plenty of videos available that explains, the AML structure, how to write your own Swagger. But for now, let's stop here and go to BPM. So this is the, Swagger file that was generated out of the box. So let me copy that and then paste it here. So it is asking, if I want to continue it JSON or or convert into YAML. So I would like to convert into YAML. So as you can see, the APIs on the left side, is rendered in a nice UI, which exactly looks like, the out of the box BPM Explorer. But here, you can see that there is no host information, right? Because, if you don't have host information, how do you even, under what host you execute this REST APIs? So I want to create my own Swagger specification file, which can, which will execute, which will have the REST API information about these user details and global teams. So in user details, I can pass the username, right? And once I execute, it should bring the user full name and the memberships. Okay, so this is the one REST API that I want in my Swagger um, definition file. Similarly, our global teams, if I give the um, team name as a filter, I mean not the full name but some kind of keyword, so it should bring the the teams that has that keyword in it. Okay, so for this, I already created a YAML file, so you can see it has a Swagger 2 definition. It has a title, and then the host is CentOS PAW 151, so which is my BPM host, right? And it has the basic authentication, so you can give the username and password, so which can authenticate your REST request against that server. So and after that we have a path WLEV1 user. After that we have this uh, path parameter. So before that, I would like to show the base path. So this is the REST BPM is the base path. So you can see for every request that IBM BPM or IBM BAW, it has this base path REST slash BPM. So if you want for users, you want for user details, for everything, you will have the um, um, base path. So let me execute this one. So see, even it has the base path rest BPM. That is the base path, and after that, the our type of response it should be, as I said, I'm comfortable with JSON. So now this is the paths, right? So this is the one path about the user, getting the user details, and second path is global teams, right? So let's observe the user path. So after slash user, I have this uh, path parameter. So you can see the path parameter uh, is whatever the user want to get information about. After that, and this is required, without that you cannot, your request cannot be processed. And after that we have the include memberships. So these are the optional query parameters. Remember, user ID is the path parameter, see in, and include internal memberships is the query parameter. So if you observe this, so after user we have the user ID, which is the path parameter, and after the question mark, and then these are all the optional query parameters. So that's why you can see required as false, right? And then after that, I created the responses. So what kind of responses it can get? For example, it if the user exists, it can give the I mean, if our request is not the user exists, but if the your request is successful, you can get 200. So and the output, right, should be of object type user details. So what is the user details? So I can see user details. So it should have these kind of properties. So the response should have the status of type string, and after that it should have the data, right? And the data should have the user ID, username, full name is disabled, primary cookie, etc. So this, you can see this one. See, the response should have the status, which is exactly whatever you defined here, and you need, and the data should have the user ID, username, full name, etc. So which should look like exactly this structure. So the good thing about here, for example, if you don't want to you know include this task collaboration, you can simply remove it. So when you execute it, the response will not contain this task collaboration. Okay, so let me execute this one. So let me authorize cell admin is my user ID and the password, and let me give it try it out and give the cell underscore admin. I know this is dumb, but I'm going to try anyway. I will tell you why it is dumb. So you can see this, right? When I executed this one, see HTTPS 151, and after that I have this cell admin, etc. So this is failed to receive or failed to bring the response, but since it is a get method, I can simply copy and paste it here. See, here I got the response, but not in the Swagger editor. Let's see why. Why? Because, you know, let me open the PowerPoint presentation. So the Swagger editor, so if you see the URL, right, the Swagger editor is somewhere out there in the internet, right? And my server is in my home network. So how, even though it has DNS, that DNS is valid within my home network, right? So the Swagger editor, you know the Swagger editor server doesn't know to whom, I mean, it tried, but the DNS lookup failed, right? So that's why you cannot use Swagger editor, I mean, the one which is hosted on the internet, to test your BPM or BAWS. Of course, you can use it, if your BPM server is also hosted in the cloud, and then it is exposed. It has the valid DNS name, and um, it has course enabled, right? So I will tell you, I will come to that point, what is course enabled and etc. So, but for now, you know just know that Swagger cannot test your REST APIs if your BPM server is inside the corporate or your in home network. So now my goal is to install the Swagger editor locally on my machine, or in one of my Linux machine, which can access this BPM server. So for this, I'm going to install in the dns50 .harishphysics.com. Okay, so this is the putty. This is not putty. This is Mobac's term, but it's just like putty. So host name. So I logged in the DNS 150. Uh, host. This is Linux machine. So it has Node installed in it already. So installing Node Git is very easy in a Linux machine. So you can get tons of information online to know how to create your own Linux machine, and then how to install Node and Git in it. So I have Node in it and then Git in it. So let me get the Swagger from the internet. So go to online, get Swagger GitHub. So you can see the first result is Swagger GitHub, right? So I want the Swagger editor. So this is the Swagger editor. So I want to, you know, um, I can download it and then upload it to my Linux machine, etc. But since my machine already has Git in it, I can simply type git clone and the URL whatever I copied. So right now it is downloading the Swagger editor in my Linux machine. I think it may take some time. I'm going to pause the video. So it is downloaded. So let me see. So you can see the Swagger editor is downloaded. So let me go inside Swagger editor. So if you see the documentation online, you just need to issue one command like npm. I think it's npm install. So right now let me issue that command npm install, so that it will install all the dependencies which are required for this Swagger editor. So it will take some time. Let me pause the video again. So Swagger is installed, so let me run it. So npm, sorry, it's not npm run, it's npm start actually. So let me issue that command. So it will check again. Sorry, if you download it, just issue the npm start. So uh, so as you can see, the Swagger editor is started and it is running on the port 3001 on my machine. IP is 192.168.0.150. So let me go there. I already bookmarked that. So DNS 150 Harish. So you can see this, right? So it is exactly whatever we have seen, uh, before, but the difference is this is hosted on the internet. This is not in my hands, but this one, right? So this one is in my hands. So this is my local machine, and I already pasted the Swagger file we have created before in it, right? So let me authorize it. Cell admin and admin, and then issue this, execute this REST API, because I want to get the user details cell underscore admin and execute it. So let's see. So still you see the some kind of error. So let's see what's the error. So go to the console, and if you see this is course cross-origin resource sharing. So what it means is, your DNS, your Swagger editor server, in this case, your DNS 150 is trying to get the resource hosted on this, BPM or BAW server, right? So by default, course is not available on the BAW server because of the securities, right? But you can enable, that course by adding, some script in 100 custom XML. So let's look up on the IBM BPM documentation. So you can see, you need to add this script, allowed origins, and then the server name, which in our case, our DNS 150, in the 100 custom XML file. But since, this is my, intra-network, and I want to use this script rather than this one. That means, I want to allow all virtual machines in my home network to access the BPM. So let's see how to do that. So I logged in the BPM server or BAW server. So you can see host name. So CentOS BAW 151, which is this one. So I want to locate the file 100 custom XML. So for that, I'm going to use find and then dot, which means it searches, in all the directories and subdirectories, and 100 custom .xml. So since it's I issued I, it doesn't care about the cases. So let's see this one. So you can see there are a couple of 100 custom XML file, but we want to change this one, the one in the process center. So let's go there with our VI editor, config XML. So you can see, this is just installed. So we need to add that allowed origins. So at the end of the line, end of the page. So I'm going to add it here. So this is what I'm going to add. Server RESTMade allowed origins is star or asterisk. That means it, from now on, after the restart, once you paste it right, you need to restart your BPM server. After that, it accepts any requests, request from all your VMs which are hosted in your intranet network. So paste and then save it. So now we need to restart our BPM servers. So I'm going to WebSphere, select password. So I want to bring down the deployment environment fast. So it will bring down the app cluster and support cluster and the messaging cluster. So it's first, it will go in order. So let's wait for that. Sorry, the order is SAM, supporting app and then messaging. Okay, so now the all the servers are down. So now let's bring down the node. So system administration nodes. So this is where we changed the config 100 custom XML and then stop. Okay, so now the node is down. So let's bring up the node again. So I need to issue this .node.sh command from the node profile bin. So it will, once it is up, then we can bring up that deployment environment again up. Okay, so now node is up. So after the node is up, I want to synchronize with the DMGR. Okay, so it's already synchronized. So let me go to deployment environments and then start. So my app cluster is coming up. So it is completely up. So now let's go ahead and try our request again. So inspect console. So let me clear out the logs from the previous. Oh, sorry, this is this is not the one we want. We want the our local Swagger editor. So let me cancel the request, try it out again. So let me give true, execute. So still it's giving the same. Okay, so the issue was, we need to actually change the 100 custom XML in the app cluster member to, I mean, not to, this is where we need to change. So what I did was, I changed this in this location, 100 custom XML. So yeah, I can run that again. So I add the same snippet, we have added in the, where we have added in the process center config 100 XML. So after that, I saved it and then, restarted the app cluster alone. So now let's go back to our Swagger. So, and this time, let's hope, it's going to work. So let me inspect console and then issue the API cell underscore admin. This is what the user I want to get the details about, and then execute. Still the same issue. Okay, so we need to authorize again with the user ID and password, because your REST request needs that, and then click on get. So try it out. Issue cell underscore admin. Before that, let me open the console and then click on execute. So you can see, yay, see, now we successfully retrieved the response. So we have the first username, full name is disabled, etc. Let's try another request with different user ID. I read user one, get, yes, we got the response. Okay, so now I want to try the other request too, like global teams. So try it out. So I already put star, manage star. So it should bring all the uh, manager, all the teams which has manager in it. So this is good. So both requests are working. So now it's time to, you know, use this Swagger file in the BPM web designer. This is our final goal. So what you can do is you can save as YAML, or download as JSON. So but I would like to save as YAML. So save as YAML. So it downloaded Swagger file. So let me rename it as BPM Swagger YAML. So now let's go to our web process designer. So let me close all this. Yep. So click on external service. So select Java REST web service. So REST service from local file. So we already have that file. So BPM Swagger YAML. Click on open. So you can change the name if you want. So here you see these are the two operations. Those are the two APIs or operations that has inside that Swagger file. And I want to create a new server because we need to provide the authentication for the REST, right? So click on server. So now it is creating the REST server for that. So it created the REST server, and you has the operations. So let's see if it created the data types. Yeah, you can see it created the data types like user details, parts type. So this is all discovered through the REST APIs. So now let's go to that servers tabs. So this is the one that created, right? So this is the basic authentication. So username, password. So let me go username and password. Okay. So now let's create it. Let's use that VPN Swagger in the get teams service. So go to here, drag and drop, and connect it. So right now there is no data mapping because we haven't selected this operation yet. So we are going to select retrieve global teams and data mapping. See, it just there is only one query parameter. So here I can give. So what we can do is let's not. So star manager star. Yep. And generate the themes. Yep. Save it and let's run it. So debug. Let's see the data return. See the status is 200 and it retrieved the teams which has the manager in it. So I just got another idea. So let's implement that. So what I want to do is I want to create a simple UI. So which should that should have type ahead. So as you are typing, it should bring the related themes. So just as client side human service, get team lookup. So just a simple coach, just accept the default, and from the UI just I need type ahead, yes. So in the type ahead just like team name. So in the configuration, because go to items, so we want to bring the items from the service. So here it is default, but I want to create a new one like get teams Ajax. So here, so you can see the data is input, whatever the user types in, and the result is whatever we need to pass to that control. Okay, so go to external service and do the same. Just select the operation and data mapping. So here the data mapping is star plus, because we want to add the stars to the front as well as the end of the user input, right? So and then generate the type. So what it does is user is entering the data and we need to send the data in terms of string list, right? So for that, we need to add a script to parse the data that is from the REST response. I know I'm not following any best practices, just so this is the script. So this is the result string list. So this is the response, and we are just parsing and then sending it inside this results. Save it. So okay, let's go to get it in lookup. Okay, I think everything is completed. So let's run this. So I'm typing. Let's see what's happening. So in the inspect console. Oh, okay. This is for not one unauthorized issue. So what you need to do is, so go to your configuration, go to your get Teams Ajax, the overview. So allow calls from all users. So run again. Inspect. Let's see. Let's hope there are no errors. So I'm typing now MANC. It brought all the teams which has managers in it. So if you see the console.log, right? So whenever you're typing new letter, that sends a request. See, since it is Ajax, sends a request for each keystroke for the type head. Okay, so that's all, guys. So as I promised, so we looked at all this. We learned how to create a Swagger specifications file for the IBM BPM or IBM BW REST API, how to install the Swagger editor and how to test it, how to enable the course, and even we were able to implement that in the BPM web designer. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your patience. Sorry if I make any mistakes. Please comment below. Thank you very much. See you next time.